Thank you, thank you. Well, it's my great honor to be with you this morning. I've really looked forward to this, and I'm grateful for all that you all do. I want to thank Ambassador Brownback for that introduction, very kind introduction. I want to thank Katrina Lantos Sweat for co-chairing this amazing summit, and all of you. Ambassador Hussein and Ambassador Rehak, and my colleagues in the House, Representatives Young Kim and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I want to thank them for all that they're doing, that everyone's doing to promote the free exercise of religion or belief. This is truly one of the most diverse and most important meetings that happens in Washington, and I mean that sincerely. As you have heard, I devoted most of my adult life and my career to the defense of religious freedom. I believe it's that important. And as a former religious liberty litigator, it's an honor to join you all as we speak against religious persecution around the globe. While it may not be popular in today's increasingly secular world, of course, America was founded on the ideal of religious freedom and the belief that every single person has inalienable rights. Since our founding, of course, America has been the greatest proponent for religious freedom around the world because we were founded on that ideal. Our heritage on this issue is visible throughout Washington, D.C. You can take a walk down to the Jefferson Memorial here, and I'm sure many of you have, and you can read what Thomas Jefferson wrote in 1777 to establish religious freedom in Virginia. It says there on the wall, it's inscribed on the wall, "No man shall be compelled to frequent or support religious worship or ministry, or shall otherwise suffer on account of his religious opinions or belief." Or you can walk down to the National Archives, of course, and read the first line of our Bill of Rights. We like to say around here that religious liberty is quite literally our first freedom. It's listed first in the Bill of Rights. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. These ideals come from the self-evident truth that men and women are created by God and that it is God, not the government, who gives us our rights. The great British philosopher G.K. Chesterton said one time, "America is the only nation in the world that is founded upon a creed." And he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity in the Declaration of Independence. Our nation's birth certificate states that very clearly. And as created beings, our relationship to and our beliefs about God cannot be coerced by the state. We believe that God makes all men in his image, and the founders believe that. The founders of our nation did, and that's why they wrote the Declaration as they did. They proclaimed that it was a self-evident truth, something that's obvious, that our rights don't derive from government, they derive from God. And because we're made in God's image, the belief was that every single person has inestimable dignity and value. And your value is not related in any way to the color of your skin or what country you live in or how intelligent you are. Your value is inherent because it is given to you by your Creator. And the state doesn't have the authority or the capacity to judge or transform the soul. Anytime it tries to take that authority, it attempts to do what only God can, and it moves beyond its sphere of jurisdiction and it becomes tyrannical. When religious freedom is taken away from a people, political freedom soon follows. We know that that is the lesson of history. James Madison once said, "It is conscience that is the most sacred of all property." So if governments shouldn't steal your property, then they shouldn't steal your conscience, and they shouldn't prohibit you from acting upon it. That's the long-held view in America, and it's the view I spent decades fighting for in the courts, and it's the view that has been reaffirmed, thankfully, time and time again by our Supreme Court here in the United States. But sadly, this view of religious freedom is not the dominant view around the world, as you know, and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, for example, continues to exercise a dark influence and deny all freedoms to his people, especially religious freedom. The regime in Myanmar continues to engage in genocidal attacks against the Rohingya Muslims. In Nigeria, Christians and minority Muslims are attacked and killed by mobs and terrorists. Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua and Miguel Diaz-Canel in Cuba hunt down and imprison Catholic priests and Baptist pastors who simply preach the gospel and speak out against the regime. Tibetan Buddhists and Falun Gong practitioners are placed in forced labor camps, and they have their organs harvested by the Chinese Communist Party. And in the Uyghur Autonomous Region, Uyghur Muslims are suffering under Chinese Communist Party's genocidal campaign of forced sterilization, forced detention, and re-education. Millions of Uyghurs have been detained in these camps where they're kept in cramped cells and they're tortured and brainwashed. We all know this. Uyghur women are subject to heinous violence I won't bear to repeat this morning. And all these countries, some of the most repressive in the world, also have the least to offer their citizens in terms of economic prosperity and social mobility, and that's no surprise. Because if you're going to restrict and torment people for their religious beliefs, it's going to be a tyrannical regime. Economic prosperity grows when the people are allowed to follow their faith. Freedom flourishes where freedom is allowed. And at this moment, the U.S. has an opportunity and an obligation to prevent genocide and punish those who commit it. As China, yes. As China makes its forced labor efforts harder to detect, we call on the Biden administration to fully enforce the letter and the spirit of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. Yes, this should not be a partisan issue. We should all be united on this. It's who we are as Americans. And we must use all of our resources to prevent American involvement in Uyghur genocide, obviously. Of course, our commitment to preventing genocide dates back to the aftermath of the Holocaust. And sadly, the same anti-Semitism that led to the Holocaust is now being spread through new tools and once again rearing its ugly head. Since Hamas slaughtered thousands of Israeli citizens on October 7th, we've seen a frightening and seemingly coordinated rise of anti-Semitism, including here on our own shores, and it has been alarming. Now is the time, just a few days after Holocaust Remembrance Day, to stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters and recommit to the promise we made decades ago, never again. That's right. I want to leave you with this thought this morning, that this gathering knows better than anyone that if we stand together, we can send a clear message to those who think religious freedom is a Western or American value. It was Gus Dur, the former Prime Minister of Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim country, by the way, who said this: "Those who try to sanction or limit religious freedom not only halt the developmental process of religious understanding, but conflate the sanctioning authorities' limited grasp of the truth and ultimate truth itself." I couldn't have said that better myself. We know that freedom of religion or belief is a universal value. It's given to people everywhere. Again, it's given to us by our Creator. That's our belief. And so we gather at this summit under one banner saying that religious freedom truly is for all the people. And we declare the universal, self-evident truth that our inalienable rights, especially the right to religious freedom, come from God and not the government. Thank you all for what you're doing. Let me be a partner in it. I'm grateful. God bless you.